Hello, welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. My guest today is Mrs. Addie Beckom. My mom that I share with four other people, but we're not going to talk about them right now. I have her glass of water ready, and we are going to have a very engaging conversation. My mom is 79 years old, and she is going to meet you today with her sparkled up sweater and give you some tips on living life. She will share about our dad who passed and being a widow and what that experience has been with her and how she has continued to live. In fact, she brought a picture of our dad right here, Mr. Jesse Beckom, the love of her life. And I am so glad to have my mom here today and to share what our dad and how important he was to her life, and encourage you that no matter where life changes you or what age you are, there is hope, and give you opportunity for healing and encouragement.
Many people talk about the ups and downs of married life, but no one really prepares you for life after your spouse passes away. Welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina, a safe place for widows, widowers, and their friends and family to talk about love and loss. Find comfort as you listen to honest conversations between Tina and invited guests who've experienced the loss of their forever partner. Share their stories of love, grief, and healing. You are not alone in this journey. Join today's episode and discover a wealth of resources and learn how to connect with others who are traveling the same path. This is Widowhood Real Talk with Tina.
Welcome to episode 2 of Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. And my guest and your guest today is my mother, Mrs. Addie Beckom.
Hi, Tina.
Hey, Mom.
Hi, everyone.
So, Mom, can you share a little bit about yourself with everyone?
Yes. My name is Mrs. Beckom. I'm 79 years old. I have 4 daughters, 1 son. I like to sew, cook, exercise, and help out, do volunteer work wherever I can, whenever I can.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So, Mom, how do you spend your days and what are some of your interests?
Well, if it's a nice warm day, I like to go for a walk. But if not, I'm in the house doing whatever needs to be done in the house. Maybe taking a nap, watching some TV, and before you know it, the day is gone.
So let me tell you a couple of things. My mom actually lives next door. My sister and my mom live together, and we live literally next door to each other. And when my mom says she's going on a walk, I don't want you to think it's like somebody just casually walking around the corner. My mom is out here grinding. In fact, when I'm working from home, I'll try to go for a walk with her at lunchtime. And I oftentimes need to give a time limit because my mom will have me walking in these streets. And as I think about it, my actual first experience with exercising is going walking with my mom to go run errands. We were in Chicago and we lived on 126th block. And I believe we would walk down to 115th on Halsted to the grocery store with a shopping cart and then walk back. So that was my first experience. So thank you, Mom, for making me stay healthy,
You're
introducing
welcome.
me to exercise. Nice. So this topic is widow to widow. So, Mom, how long were you and Dad married?
We were married 52 years.
Wow, 52 years. And how did you guys meet?
Okay, we met at Mount Sinai Hospital in Chicago. Your dad is from Chicago. I'm from a town called Hannibal, Missouri. Hannibal in Missouri.
Yes.
It's the boyhood home of Mark Twain. That's the way I explain it to people. So then they say, oh, yes, I remember that. Okay. So we met at Mount Sinai. I was sitting in a corner by myself because I'm basically a shy person. But your dad said, well, he didn't mind me being shy because no one else would talk to me. So he came back and talked to me. And so we just got together after that. Yeah.
And this is a picture of her husband and my dad, Jesse Beckom Jr. So what were some of your dates like with Dad, Mom? They want to know.
Oh, yes. I forgot about inquiring minds. Okay. And, well, we would go to lounges, to movies, to plays.
Oh. I think you mentioned some walking, too, with Dad.
Oh yes, he would walk me home from work. He lived in an apartment that the hospital had for
Oh,
his
okay.
their workers, but I lived in projects about a mile or so away, and he would walk me home, and it was fun walking home until the mosquitoes would get to me,
Ooh.
but they wouldn't bother him.
Really?
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So we stopped. Well, I wouldn't say we stopped walking. We stopped slowly walking.
Okay.
Yes, we would speed up to get to the destination. Right?
I don't think I've heard this story. So what? So you and Dad would walk.
Yes.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. So walking started early on in the process.
Right. Oh, I would walk in Hannibal a lot. So
Oh, okay.
as growing up, so
Okay.
yeah, like we went to a school, uh, Douglas.
High school or grammar school?
Um, it was all encompassing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess that's when I really started walking because
Okay.
I would have to walk about a mile to get there. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
That
So
started it. Okay.
yes.
That makes sense. So raising children, what do you have to say about that, Mom, or any advice or your experience of raising children?
Raising children. My only advice is, well, I can't give you advice, but I can
You share
only
your
tell you.
experience.
Right. Yes. Just take care of your child as they're growing up, and then when they get a mind of their own to do things, don't try to stop them. Just
Oh, okay.
unless they get in trouble, then you have to take control. But other than that, coming from a family of 11 children, we would share things or just have fun together. And our parents never restricted us from doing anything. So,
Okay. So you got to kind of develop into the person that you needed to be without
right,
somebody pushing you in a particular direction.
right.
Okay. Any memories from your children growing up, particularly me?
Okay, I remember you having a friend that you would hang out with quite
Okay.
often. But then something happened, you and your friend had a fight, so
That's how it is in the
yeah.
Chicago hood. Anything you want to share that you have from my childhood, Mom?
Yes.
She told me she
I was
had
going through
something.
some papers and I found this. It's a poem. It says, "A sure way to have a yummy day." Okay, it starts off, happiness is something we create in our mind. It's not something you search for and you seldom find. It's just waking up and beginning the day by counting our blessings and kneeling to pray. It's giving up thoughts that breed discontent and accepting what comes as a gift heaven sent. It's giving up wishing for things we have not and working to achieve the things that we want. It's knowing that life is determined for us and pursuing our tasks without fret, fume, or fuss. For it's by completing what God has gives us to do that we find real contentment and happiness too. Have a yummy day, Tina.
Wow. You and I both have no idea how old I was with
Right.
that. But when I was still in your home being raised and that's something, so I'm still living that type of life today. So that's interesting to hear a poem that I have no recollection of actually doing, but that exists. So pay attention to what your children are doing, I guess, huh? Because there's something to feed into.
Right. And plus, evidently, the way you live your life is the way you always been living your life.
I
It's
guess
just
so.
that you've gotten older now and able to do more. Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. With this topic being widow to widow, you happen to have two different perspectives. One from being my mom when my late husband passed, and then yourself being a widow. I'd like to talk about both of those. What was it like being my mother and watching me become a widow?
Your dad and I just couldn't believe it because it was going back and forth that Mark was okay and then he wasn't. So we just felt really bad that we had to get to Tina as quick as possible, and we did. And
Okay.
Yeah.
From your perspective, coming to the house, watching me, and over time, what did that look like for you, or what did you take in watching me go through that, and still going through to some extent?
Right. Well, I didn't see you having. I saw you have a difficult time of not having your husband there.
Mm-hmm.
But you, after a while, and like right now, you're still doing what you have to do to live and survive.
Okay.
And yeah,
Any struggling or different things that you've watched over the process, or may have come to terms later, wasn't shared up front?
process of your
Grief.
no, because you're a strong person, and you stayed in your bed for what, 4 months, off and on. Yes.
I did not return back to work for 3 months.
Okay.
So there was a lot of time of adjusting with that, and just trying to come, like you said, to grips
Right.
with what had taken place. So even in strength, there are things that will happen in life that will really knock the wind out of you.
Right.
And that happened unexpectedly on vacation to a man I had spent 32 years with. So definitely had some downtime.
Right. Yes.
How has you being a widow been for you in comparison to watching it from the outside with me?
By being a widow, is not that. Some days I cry, but some days I don't. But every morning I say good morning to Jesse, and he prepared me for it,
Okay.
actually, because he would tell me that he would that I would be here long after he left.
Okay.
And so that's why it didn't hit me as hard as it could have.
Okay.
Because I was prepared. Yes.
That is a very good point, Mom. That people often want to say this is like this as far as the death of someone's spouse, but the idea of what that looked like, being prepared. If I recall, was Dad sick for over a period of time?
Yes.
And that sickness, if you could share something about that and how his health changed over time.
Okay. When he was 2 years old, he had rheumatic fever.
Okay.
I think that's the way you pronounce it, and it did something to his heart. But by the time he was 17 years old, he was okay to go into the military. He went into the Air Force. When he got through with the 4 years in the Air Force, he came out. He drove a bus for CTA in Chicago. And after driving a bus, he became a police officer. And then later in life, he started to suffer more. And so his last surgery was with a disc. And from that surgery, he got a blood clot.
Was that in his back?
Right.
Okay.
And from that, he got a blood clot. And the last time he went to the hospital, he was having a blood clot also. It was blood. It was 3 different things that took him away.
Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you were not in Dad's presence when he passed, so you
Exactly.
didn't have that piece of that,
Exactly.
that concept.
It was time during COVID, and they weren't letting people in as often.
Okay. And that is another thing. I'm glad you brought that up. The way that we as a community are able to deal with death in COVID is very different than what we've dealt with death before that. There's more isolation involved.
Yes.
And also the less opportunity for people to be there with us and embrace us during that loss. So I more so want to be able to, for us to be able to share something like this with people that may have lost a loved one also in COVID, and not being able really to have somebody there with them and grieving as they're struggling with this.
Right.
So Mom, what has life been for you since Dad passing?
It really hasn't changed that much, but I just miss your dad, miss doing stuff for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you say life hasn't changed that much. Let's circle back to a few things.
Mm-hmm.
Being in Chicago and now you're here in Virginia, how did that transition take place from when Dad passed to where you are now?
Well, the way that happened is once the children found out that their father has passed, they rushed to Chicago to be with me and help me to clear up any little details that needed to be cleared up, and help me to get here to Virginia, where I'm staying with my daughter Yolanda right now, next door to Tina.
So, how many years did you and Dad lived in the house, Mom?
I think we were in there 48 years.
So 48 years worth of house cleaning and relocating. So those children that she listed and their children, we were on deck doing that to try to ease the burden for my mom. So I do just like to recap that she left a home that she was in for 48 years, relocated here to Virginia, since sold that house, and has taken on some interests that I think that would be very interesting for you to know. So my mom, as we spoke about, I'm not sure if I mentioned, she has a podcast, and which is actually what has inspired me to do a podcast, watching my mom share something that she enjoys doing. Can you share a little bit about well, not a little, but share about the podcast, Mom?
Okay. The podcast is called Timeless Journey. And because the reason it's called Timeless Journey is because it goes from when I was about 13 years old and to where I am now. I started at about 13 years old because we would sometimes eat pigtails or pig feet. And then I noticed how much fat I was eating. And so I stopped eating that much fat, but I would eat the meat part of it.
Okay.
So I didn't stop eating pigtails or pig feet. I just controlled what I would eat and how much I would eat of it.
Okay.
So
Portion control back in the day.
right.
Okay. Okay.
And so, and as the years passed, I found different ways to take care of my body.
Okay.
For instance, the overnight weight loss. With my last child,
Our brother.
our brother, your brother. With my last child, I had to go in for not a blood test, but it may have been a blood test or something.
Some tests.
Some test, yes. So I wasn't to eat from 12 o'clock at night to 12 o'clock the next day.
Okay.
And so I looked and I said, ooh, I lost 4 pounds. So I said, I can't do this, but I want to lose 4 pounds.
Not going to intermittent fasting on a regular way.
So I worked with it, and then I discovered if I stopped eating by 10 o'clock
Okay.
and got at least 6 to 8 hours sleep, I could lose 2 pounds or more. So that's where the overnight weight loss came from.
Okay.
And also I found out about my stomach growling. Every time I hear a growl, it doesn't mean I'm hungry. If I don't have a desire to eat food, then I know it's just my intestines turning up to do what the intestines do.
Okay.
But if I do have a desire to eat, then I eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mom, your desire to be conscious, had that allowed you opportunity to speak with anybody formally or have any speaking engagements? And if so, what were those like?
Yes, I spoke to a few places. I spoke at a bookstore at the Saba Museum.
Oh.
And I spoke at True Vine Baptist Church in Chicago. And I spoke at Salem Church in Chicago.
And DuSable Museum, where is that located, Mom?
In Chicago.
Okay.
But by me being as shy as I was, it didn't lead to as much as I wanted it to. But then I wrote a book, and it's not in production anymore, but I sold a few copies. And from the book, I turned it into a podcast.
Wow. So for someone who says she's shy and doesn't speak a lot, she is really coming to her own. So, Mom, what is the podcast and what's the frequency, where viewers are, some things you'd like to share about the podcast?
Okay. The podcast comes out every Wednesday. And you can listen to it on either Spotify or
I think.
Anchor.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh. And on Spotify, I have a video there under movements through the years.
Okay.
Okay.
About how long are the episodes, Mom?
Oh, they're between 3 minutes to 10 minutes long.
Okay.
Yeah.
So very concise information. Any of the topics that you recall or some of your to share with everyone?
Like I said, the overnight weight loss, that seems to be the most popular. I've been broadcasting since about June, I think. Well, I only have 170 listeners. Well, out of 7 billion people in the world, I don't think I'm doing bad. Well,
No.
anyway.
And that's June of 2022.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I have one called Money on the Ground. And
This came from one of our walks, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
because my husband would tell me that I walked so straight that I would miss $100 bill on the ground. And then I was talking to Tina
As we were walking.
as we were walking, and she said, "Not anymore." So that made me think. Once I got back home, I looked in the mirror, and I wasn't standing as straight as I used to stand. So that's what that's about, to tell me how I should stand better, stand more, to check on myself.
So speaking of body, Mom, you have a couple of exercises that you can share with us?
Yes.
Let me hold that while you do that, Mom. And if you can talk through the exercises as you do them.
Okay, I have this one. Put my hands on both shoulder blades, pull up, and
Come over here a little bit, Mom.
okay,
Okay, go ahead.
and just pull up, and hold it for a while. This way, I'm building my posture. I'm building my pecs. I'm building my tricep, and I'm working the core. And I have this exercise just to hold on to something and bring my leg up. And this way, I'm firming my glutes. So
Any sitting exercise, Mom, maybe for somebody that's not very mobile?
yes, just cross your legs and put your hand on your top knee, and put the other hand on this hand that's on the knee, and just lean. And it's another way to build your posture.
So my mom's not a doctor. She's just sharing
No,
some information that
I'm
has
not
worked with her to be able to stretch and move, and she's sharing that with you.
I am not as I say, I am not a doctor, scientist, or nutritionist. Yes, I'm just sharing with you the way I do things. Okay.
For 79, so Mom, how old were you when Dad passed?
I was, 77?
77?
Yeah.
And what has been your strength to be able to continue living your life in Dad's absence?
Well, I keep praying, and I've said, your dad let me know that I would be here after he passed. So other than that, I don't know what else there is.
Family has been helpful in regards to
family has
you.
been very helpful. My children, yes.
Okay, thank you. If someone was wanting to start exercising and they've not done it before, and they've checked with their doctor and they've been approved to be able to do something, what are some things that you find that are helpful just getting started with exercise?
Listen to your body and do what your body says. You don't have to do the exercises that you see other people doing. But whatever you do, start slowly, and then build up into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say listen to your body, to me, over the years, that has conveyed into not doing the exercise that would cause me pain or
Exactly.
discomfort.
Right.
Something that may be a bit of stretching, but not something that feels like it's going into injury, that we've found over the years that have helped with us. So I do want to share something. So my mom did talk about eating, and she did talk about cooking and baking. Any desserts or different things that you really like? And so some of her desserts have multiple purposes. So
Yes.
hopefully she'll share those with you too.
I like to fix desserts with lots of fiber in it, so I can,
You know what happens when you eat
eliminate,
fiber.
right? I like carrot cake, pound cake, cheesecake.
Cake.
Whether it's cheesecake, whether it's refrigerated or baked. But and I also like banana cake. The banana cake and the carrot cakes are for elimination or pooping. Yeah.
It's something we talk about a lot. Well, Mom, this has been quite the joy. Thank you for sharing your life and being here to speak with us. Any closing remarks or something you'd like to share with everyone?
Oh, yes. I'd like to read this as the closing remarks. These are things I got off the computer. Okay, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I used to trouble about what life was for. Now being alive seems sufficient reason. When we have provided against cold, hunger, and thirst, all the rest is but vanity and excess. Things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out. Shared joy is double joy, and shared sorrow is half sorrow. Show me the man you honor, and I will know what kind of man you are. My life is in the hands of any fool that makes me lose my temper.
Oh.
Hope for the best. Expect the worst. Life is a play. We're unrehearsed. Okay.
Wow. And on that note, thank you for being with us today and have a good one.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mom. Wow. We just wrapped up the second episode of Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. And this episode is on my series called Family. And this was a conversation with my mom called Widow to Widow. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for entrusting us to be a part of your journey as you deal with the loss of a spouse, a loved one, or something that's made you part of the widowhood community. And like I said, being from Chicago, the word hood is my family. It is my community, whether those are family or friends. And thank you for allowing us to be part of your experience. Have a good day.
Thank you for spending another episode with Widowhood Real Talk. If you found the contents of today helpful, share the episode to anyone you know who may need it. Subscribe to the show and tune into Widowhood Real Talk each week. Then visit widowhood-realtalkwithtina.org to join the community and access additional resources. Remember, you are not alone in this journey.